God, I need this, Benji said 8 hours into our drive. He'd been quiet since June after the crash. There wasn't much left to say. Leah just reached across, squeezed his hand. When we parked at the Mount Rogers trailhead, dusk glowed pink across the spruce tops. We hiked by headlamp, set up camp just off a clearing near the rusting foundation of an ancient fire tower. The plan was simple: no phones, no news, just the forest. Dinner was grilled sausage, trail bread, and sharing flasks. Started with whiskey and ended with bourbon that warmed our bones. Benji actually laughed that night. Leah teased him about looking like he'd swallowed a ghost the week before. He shoved her hand away jokingly, face soft for the first time in months. I said, "Promise me something." They looked up at me. I kept my voice flat. "If anything happens, anything, you don't freeze. You speak up." Benji swallowed a gulp of bourbon. He nodded, bracing the warmth. Leah stared at the fire. "We stick together," she whispered. We slept by 11. I fell asleep to the wind rattling spruce. No one mentioned the phone that buzzed the day before, the one Benji hadn't answered. We left it in the truck. Our pact was this weekend, we get clean air in our lungs and quiet in our heads. I woke at 1:40 a.m. to a laugh. Not the light kind, slow, guttural, broken. It echoed just outside the clearing, swallowed by fog. Sat bolt upright. My stomach lurched. Tent was dark, Leah breathing softly next to me. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. She shot upright, voice low. "Yeah." Benji shifted. "Your imagination, Trace?" "Not mine," I said, voice shaking. "That laugh, it's not human." By that moment, the fog swelled. Leah unzipped her tent quietly, looking calm until she started shaking. Benji's voice cracked. "We need to go get it." "No," I snarled. "We face it together. Hand me the revolver." I wasn't kidding. He fumbled with the .22. "Here." Leah wrapped my arm with both hands. "Be careful," she said. I stepped out. The forest was wrong. Fog pooling low, making tree trunks vanish into whiteness. I called, "Hello?" Voice too loud in the silence. No answer. Then, a laugh. Closer now. And behind me, reflected. Not from ahead, from the direction we came. The laugh came again, soft, mocking, like the thing was mimicking a drunk man's hiccup laugh after a shot of bourbon. I froze, flashlight beam dancing across spruce bark. Then I heard it, shifting, not between trees, sideways, like someone sliding skin across bark. I spun back. Tent flaps rustled lightly. Leah and Benji stood there pale, eyes wide. "We heard it too," Benji whispered. We backed into the clearing, sticking together. The laugh didn't come again, but it didn't need to. We didn't sleep. The fog thinned but never left. I kept the revolver on my lap. Leah pressed warm beside me. Benji stared into space like it would whisper back. I tried to start the fire to keep us alive, but the damp wood refused. My flashlight should have done it, but the batteries were whispering dead. At 3:10 a.m., wind rose. Or something did. I heard it again, scratch, scrape, right off the clearing's edge. Soft, deliberate. I stood, revolver held tight. "Show yourself." Only silence. Then I saw movement, barely. A trunk shifting closer. My flashlight beam swung but caught nothing, just blank and fog. The wind picked up, trill low across forest, drumming my nerves raw. I heard scrambling above us, branches faint, almost teasing. Leah clutched my arm. "We go now," she whispered. "Before it gets smart." I nodded. We didn't look back. We tore down the tents, shoved hammocks into packs. Benji's hands trembled. I held his pack on him. At sunrise, we stumbled into gravel parking. No footprints around our camp, no smashed gear. Just one long boot print in the gravel. We found it when hiking out. It sank weird, elongated, like someone stood too long. We left without camping again. Back at the truck, Benji fell into sobs. Leah cursed into the steering wheel. Me? I held the boot print in my hand, staring. There's no logic for that, I said. No trail, no tracks in the dirt, just that laugh and a print. Benji swallowed. God, I thought it was me going crazy. I thought, maybe I called it. Leah held him. You didn't. We all heard it. We drove off, radio static crackling like life trying to sneak back in. Days later, I got a text from Benji. He tacked on an emoji. 2 eyes, no mouth. He'd stopped replying to group texts. Leah moved to Portland 6 months later. She said she'd gone to chase quiet there, but it wasn't the same. My new hikes are solo. I stick to daytime. I don't camp anymore. Just day trips, daylight only. We talk about that night in whispers, not because it's shameful, but because it wasn't normal. Some nights near my cabin, I swear I can still hear it. Soft, roughly human laughter drifting through my dreams. I've tried explaining it. Not human, mimicking human. A thing becoming man doesn't help. What I've learned is this. There's nothing in the woods that need welcome. Some sounds aren't invitations, and laughter, especially when it's not yours, can be a warning. I don't judge people who chase ghosts. I just know now. When something laughs in the dark, you don't ask questions. You don't shine more light. Sometimes you run. You don't wait for the next laugh. Not all echoes are invitations. Some sounds in the night are warnings, not curiosities. When the forest laughs in a voice that isn't your own, don't stand and listen. Run, and stay alive. I'm Maya Tolbert, 27, a landscape photographer always hunting forgotten places. Chapels swallowed by vines, barns frozen in time, cemeteries no one visits. I called my best friend Dee and cousin Amber and said, let's go find it. Cheap beer, DSLRs, a park map, and a 2-hour hike. We planned. But the path twisted into something else the moment we stepped beyond the ordinary. We met at the trailhead at 5:30 p.m. Warm August light filtered through the spruce and oak. Dee shouldered his pack, waving his wilderness blog camera. Amber scrolled the trail map under sun-bright optimism. I just want a good story, not a haunted forest episode, Amber said. Dee laughed. Maya's idea of fun is a weed-choked chapel next to a swamp. Come on, I nudged them. You know I shoot color, not horror. We laughed, stepped onto Trail 7. The woods smelled warm, thick with summer, insects droning. We chatted about Dee's next blog, Amber's upcoming grad school. The trail climbed and dipped, wind carrying whispers of returning cicadas. At 6:45 p.m., 3 miles in, the fog rolled low. We hit it at once. It was white and dense, smelling clean, oddly fresh for August. The woods felt quieter, not silent. Pressed down, muted. It pulled at my skin. Dee paused. Think this is it? I nodded. Over that rise? We climbed to a fenced hilltop. Bent iron bars, vines, stone etched with names, 7 graves. No glow, no flicker. The air. It felt heavy. Amber said, let's go. I lifted my camera. 1 shot. Flash. The stones didn't reflect. Nothing shimmered. Just empty. Dee stared. That's not real. Amber shivered, looked at me. Seriously, Maya. Let's go. I pocketed the camera. We stepped off the hill, all feeling the same weight in our chests. A 2-hour hike had flattened into a dread walk. We detoured to the park maintenance road, hoping for an easy descent. It was paved, wide enough for vehicles. Night closed in fast, but the world kept narrowing. No birds chirped, no rustle, no breeze to move a leaf. Just silence so thick it pressed against our ears. We saw them at 200 yards, 5 people standing in a row, blocking the road. No uniforms, no headlight reflections, no breath, no flicker of motion. Dee whispered, maybe rangers? Amber shook her head. No uniforms, no movement. She swallowed hard. They're facing away from us. I lifted my camera, zoomed in, but the screen stayed black. Battery died? No, it shut off like we didn't exist. We walked forward slowly. No sound of footfall. The gravel didn't crunch. No locusts took alarm. Nothing. Then they just vanished. No human silhouette, no rustle, nothing. Just empty road. Dee whispered, voice shaking. "Did you see that?" Amber exhaled mist and cold air. "We have to turn back." We dialed it all wrong. Turning to retreat didn't work. Paths curved differently. Shadows didn't fit their trees. It felt like the forest was shifting around us. The fog deepened, cold spreading from the ground up. We took wrong turns, tripped, backed into unseen obstacles. Only adrenaline propelled us. By 9 p.m., we stumbled out at the original trailhead, all tired, drained, shaken. We stepped into real silence. Insects, wind, everything normal. Even normal seemed terrifying after the void. Back in Charleston, we tried to process. Dee's blog fell silent. Amber wouldn't open her trail map files. I went to my dark room to develop shots. The stone cemetery frames came up blank, grainy gray. No graves, no sky, no focus. Just static. I held the prints, thinking. Something erased it. Dee didn't blog. I emailed him twice. No response for months. Amber locked her door when Watoga was mentioned. She ghosted every group invite. I sent her pictures. She said she wanted to see proof, but there was none. Just grayscale memory. I kept the next memory, the famine of sound, the images flicking off, and those 5 silent figures. We didn't see ghosts. We saw people, or saw something acting like people, something that had learned how to stand and wait. I don't talk about it much, not because I'm ashamed, but because reality cracks open at edges like that, not meant to be poked. Weeks passed. I returned to editing landscapes, but something changed. I listened harder. Sound felt sacred. I recorded crickets, wind. I scanned my ears to fill in emptiness. I'd wake up at night convinced I heard 5 people standing in my hallway. Nothing but a draft. But I felt their expectation to stay. Dee resurfaced one evening. He messaged, "I saw something like you describe. Black silhouettes on the road. I thought I went crazy. I'm working on it." His silence returned soon after. Amber wrote once, "Saw your pictures. I can't look at that forest ever again. Sorry." Every time I hike now, I carry phone, flashlight, recorder. Even then, I pick a path lined by crowded trees, where leaves whisper life. Once, I passed a hidden cemetery near an old chapel. I paused, heart pounding. I raised my camera and thought, not this time. The stones reflected morning light, not erased, but quietly present. Some things aren't meant to vanish. We let ourselves get drawn to forgotten places. Fine. But when the world grows quiet enough to swallow sound, it wants more than you realize. I learned that day. Silence isn't empty. It's full. Full of expectation. Full of things learned to wait. The road with no sound wasn't a path we didn't travel. It was a demand. Stay. Let us rearrange you, erase your proof, and leave you wondering if you ever existed. I'm posting a landscape series soon. Colors, textures, forgotten chapels, but no Trail 7. When people ask if I believe in ghosts, I say, I believe in anything that learns to pretend. So don't chase silence. If something's not making noise, walk away. Some things want to freeze you in place so they can grow around you. Silence can be deceptive. When a place becomes unnaturally quiet, tread carefully. Some forgotten spaces guard themselves and won't let you leave unchanged. I used to think nothing bad ever happened above 5,000 feet. Jay and I had been dating 4 years, and in that time we spent more weekends above the tree line than below. We knew every switchback on the Blue Ridge by name. Our dog, Moose, a stubborn golden retriever with an attitude, could sniff out trail markers before we could even unfold a map. Balsam Knob was our favorite place, hands down. A quiet campsite tucked away off the main road, far from campers blasting Bluetooth speakers or kids chasing glow sticks. We hiked in on a Friday afternoon in June 2021. Weather was perfect. Sky like a soft blue blanket, breeze cool enough to keep the bugs off. We'd just wrapped up a lazy paddle on Lake Junaluska, grabbed gas station hot dogs, and made camp under a big spruce clearing near a fire ring that probably hadn't been used in a week. It felt like our own little pocket of the mountains. No cell service, no traffic noise, just the pop of the fire and moose dozing between us. By 7:20 p.m., twilight had painted the sky lavender and gold. I remember thinking how lucky we were to have places like this still unspoiled. I was curled up in Jay's flannel, Moose's back against my boots, and I was just about to grab our tiny Bluetooth speaker when I heard footsteps, crunching, rhythmic, heavy. Someone was walking up the ridge trail, slow, not trying to be quiet, not rushing either. Jay stiffened beside me. Moose stood up, ears alert, a growl starting low in his chest. Then we saw him. Man, maybe late 40s. Wiry build, gaunt face, long beard twisted with what looked like leaves or twigs. He wore beat-up hiking clothes, mismatched socks over dirty trail shoes, and a big, ragged backpack with one broken strap. A dented aluminum water bottle clinked against his hip, swinging as he approached the edge of our firelight. He stopped just short of where the glow met the trees. "Y'all got any weed?" he asked. His voice was scratchy, casual. "I'll trade you the best story you've ever heard. Or this trash." He lifted a clear grocery bag full of snack wrappers and crushed cans. Jay laughed, unsure. "Nah, man. We're good. You okay out here?" The man grinned. Not with his mouth, but with his eyes. They twitched, unfocused. Then he said, "How serial killery do I look right now on a scale of 1 to 10? I didn't laugh. Moose didn't either. He crouched beside a stump near our camp without asking. Just squatted like he'd done it 1,000 times before. Like this was his spot and we were the strangers. Moose stood between me and the man. His growl was steady, low like a warning the earth could hear. Jay stayed calm, polite as always. "Hey, you need food or something?" "Nah," the man replied, setting down the bag of trash. "Got all I need. But I'll tell you what. Y'all ever been up to the ridge when the moon's real low? Not full. Just low enough it don't want to rise yet?" Jay glanced at me. I gave the slightest shake of my head. The man smiled again, twitched really. Like something in his brain flipped a switch and brought a different tone forward. "They whisper, you know, the clean ones. Trees, stones. The government covered up what they found up here in '84. Buried it. You believe in demons?" Jay shifted. "Not really. You okay out here by yourself?" The man chuckled. "Ain't by myself." Then went quiet. For 10 full seconds, just stared past us like he was watching something walk through the trees. Amber light flickered across his hollow face. His beard caught the firelight like moss. Then he turned back and said, "You ever felt like someone's watching you even when you're alone?" I swallowed. "Plenty of times. I'm a woman in Appalachia." That made him grin. "Smart. Most folks ain't." Jay stood, subtle but tall. "You heading out, man? Getting dark." The man didn't answer right away. He plucked a pine needle from the ground and held it to his eye. Then he said, "Y'all got water?" I tossed him a sealed bottle from the cooler. He caught it without looking, like he knew exactly where it was. He turned it in his hands. "Thanks," he said, voice suddenly calm. "You gave. That's good." Then he stood, still holding the bottle, and wandered backward into the tree line. Never turned around, just faded into the brush, like fog retreating from firelight. We didn't move for a while. Jay finally sat. Well, that was unsettling. I looked at Moose, who hadn't laid back down. His ears still twitched toward the ridge. That night, we didn't sleep much. Every little noise sounded like footsteps. Every creak in a tree sounded like someone breathing. Moose kept pacing the tent, occasionally huffing toward the zipper. Jay had the blade of his camping knife tucked under his sleeping pad. I kept checking my phone for a signal, even knowing we were miles from a tower. Around 2 a.m., I swear I heard the water bottle clink. Just once. Jay whispered, "You hear that?" I nodded, hand already gripping Moose's collar. We waited. Minutes passed, no footsteps, no voices, just wind and branches and that feeling in your gut that you're not alone. Jay whispered, "He's not coming back. He's just weird." I wanted to believe that, but something in my bones told me that man wasn't lost. He wasn't rambling. He meant to be there, at that time, with us. We dozed in and out until the sky started to shift to pale blue. At sunrise, we packed fast. No eggs, no coffee. Just stuffed our gear into packs, leashed Moose, and hiked hard. About a half-mile from the trailhead, we found it. There, stuck into the side of a birch tree, jammed between strips of bark like a note, the water bottle. The same one we'd given him. It had been crushed, twisted, and filled with small gray stones, like it had been turned into a rattle or some kind of signal. Jay stopped cold. "That's ours." I stared at the boot print below it. Just one, pressed deep into soft dirt. Not ours. Too big, too wide. Jay snapped a photo. "Let's go." We didn't speak again until we hit the gravel lot where our truck waited. The woods felt quieter behind us, like they were relieved we'd left. We reported it to the ranger station in Waynesville, gave a description, showed the picture, told the story as calmly as we could. The ranger was polite, but skeptical. "No one matches that description. Could have been a drifter. Happens sometimes." Jay asked about other hikers. The ranger hesitated. "We had 2 solo campers vanish last year," he said. "One near Balsam Gap, other near Mount Hardy Overlook. Never found either. Could be coincidence. Could be." We drove home in silence. Jay still camps, but never without a weapon, and never near Balsam Knob. Me? I haven't slept outside since. That night taught me something I never forgot. Some people in the woods are lost. Some people choose to be out there hidden, unknown. And some are just watching. Not everyone you meet in the wild wants help, and not everyone you meet is what they seem. Some places don't want to be shared. Some stories you trade for safety. Trust your gut, even if it makes you feel crazy. Especially then. I stopped at Brush Creek Gas and Goods on my way back to the cabin. That crummy station that looked like it had been forgotten in the 80s. When I walked in, the only person there was some scruffy guy in a camo jacket and work boots, just standing by the bathroom door with red knuckles and dirt under his nails. He glanced up as I passed with a nod, but didn't say anything. The bathroom was freezing cold and the lock was sticky. I didn't stay longer than I had to. When I came back out, the guy was gone. I paid for a Coke and chips, barely looked at the cashier who was too busy arguing on the phone. I slid the items into my coat and left quick as I could, but that weird little smile and cold eyes stuck with me. The snow started light, but it came down fast once I hit the ridge roads. I was about 15 minutes from the cabin when I glanced in the rear view to adjust the blanket behind me, and it twitched. Just a sharp little shift, but enough to make my heart jump. I pulled over at a turnout, engine still humming, grabbed the flashlight and swung around the seat. But there was nothing. No one. Just empty blankets and a half-eaten bag of chips rolling around. I told myself I must be tired from the potluck, nerves, or just winter drives. But I locked the doors before starting the truck again, and I kept checking the mirrors until I saw the cabin lights. Pulling up to the cabin, the porch light was off, though I'd left it on. The latch to the side gate was undone too. Inside was worse. My boots were shifted just a little, enough to notice if you saw them every day. Then I saw the wet print. One boot, right by the fireplace. I grabbed the .38 from the drawer, pistol whipped the safety on, and moved slow toward the den. There he was. Same guy from the station, curled up on my couch like he was part of the furniture. He stirred, opened his eyes and said, "Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. Just needed warm." I told him to leave. He froze for a second, then got up, hands in the air, and walked out into the snow, barefoot, without a word. They brought sheriff deputies by sunrise. Two kids fresh out of dorms doing paperwork and cameras, eyes darting around like they expected him to pop out. One tracked the footprints around my truck, inside the trunk lid and out by the side gate. They said he'd hitched from the gas station, climbed in when I was inside. They read me his rap sheet, trespassing, stalking charges, but hadn't been seen in over a year. One deputy said it best. He's not wanting to hurt you. He just sneaks around in quiet places. I couldn't tell if that was comforting or terrifying. I left that morning, cabin key under the mat, and drove home slower than I ever have. Here's what I'm left with. That guy didn't scare me with a gun or a knife. He scared me with space and silence. He walked in like I was the one intruder in his world. I learned, trust the red flags, like doors left unlocked, porch lights out, footprints in ashes. Not everything dangerous shouts. Some threats just tiptoe in when you're not listening. Now I keep my pistol by the front door. I don't stop at empty gas stations after dark. And I always lock the side gate first. True danger isn't always loud or violent. It's quiet, unnoticed, and knows how to fit right in. Your instincts matter. Lock up your spaces. Trust that uneasy feeling. And understand that the real threats are the ones who don't knock. They just walk through the door. After the divorce, after the hearings and the fighting and the 15 months of quiet heartbreak, I needed space. So did my son. Toby was 10 and quiet like me. I rented us a cabin just outside Bryson City, deep in the Nantahala forest, figuring fresh air might loosen some of the weight he carried. Charlotte had gotten too loud, too many buses, too many questions from teachers, too many awkward stares from parents. Here, the silence felt like a blessing. Just trees, a dog, and space to heal. Our yellow lab mix, Scout, was the glue between us. That dog could get Toby talking faster than I ever could. Every morning we'd walk together down Whispering Hollow Trail, then again after lunch. By the second week, Toby wanted to take Scout alone for short walks while I sat on the porch with a book. I was hesitant, but I watched him like a hawk through the trees, and he always stayed close. I gave him one rule: don't go past the orange trail markers. "I won't, Mom," he'd say, eyes big, voice even, and I believed him. March 3rd was cold, but clear. Around 4 p.m., Toby asked to walk Scout before dinner. I nodded, reminded him about the marker. They disappeared down the trail. I stayed outside with my coffee. I remember the wind changed. It got still. No rustle, no squirrels. I didn't think much of it until the clock hit 4:45, and there was no sign of them. At 5, I stood up, a chill starting to creep in. By 5:10, Scout came back, alone. I remember standing up and nearly spilling my coffee when I saw Scout. He was limping, dragging one paw, panting like he'd run hard. I called his name. He didn't wag his tail. His legs were coated in something gray and dusty, not mud. It didn't smear when I touched it, more like fireplace ash. His fur was matted, and his side had a small bite mark. It wasn't clean like a coyote or sharp like a dog. It looked gnawed. That's the only way I can describe it. Toby came through the trees a minute later, cheeks red, head down. I crouched and checked him over. No scratches, no bruises, just quiet. "What happened?" I asked. "Scout ran," he whispered. He smelled something and pulled the leash out of my hand. I couldn't catch him. I just waited at the marker. I believed him. Toby never lied, not even when it'd be easier. That night, Scout wouldn't settle. He paced the porch, circled the front door, barked once low around midnight. He wouldn't let us near his paws to wash the ash off. His ears would twitch toward the woods like something was still out there. I didn't sleep. Neither did Toby. The next morning, I called the ranger's office and reported it. I didn't even know what I was reporting exactly. It just didn't feel right. Ranger Alan Rigsby showed up around noon, mid-50s, tall, a little gray in his beard, and polite in a way that made me feel safe but also watched. "Y'all okay?" he asked after I told him what happened. He walked the trail with me. I showed him the orange marker and the spot where Scout had come out. He knelt, scraped a little of the ash into a baggie, sniffed it. "Burn residue," he muttered. "But there ain't been a fire back here since the 80s. Controlled burn, 3 ridges over. And nothing this close." I brought him back to the cabin to meet Scout. As soon as Alan stepped inside, Scout bolted under the couch, tail between his legs. Wouldn't come out for anything. "That's not a bear reaction," Alan said, straightening up slowly. "I've seen dogs freeze over cats, raccoons, you name it. This ain't that." He didn't have much more to say, just warned me to keep Toby close. "Don't let him out alone, not till we figure out what's in these woods." Then he tipped his hat and left. The way he said "what's" made my stomach clench. Not who, not animal, just what. It was that evening when I saw it. I was on the back porch, checking the light bulb when something caught my eye out in the trees. A figure, tall, narrow, moving side to side. Not walking. More like swaying. It didn't look human exactly, but it stood upright. The air around it shimmered faintly, like the heat that rises off summer roads even though it was 40 degrees out. It didn't have a light, didn't look up, but I knew it was watching. I blinked, and it was gone. I stood frozen. The breeze kicked in and I caught it. Smoke. Not cigarettes, not wood smoke. Old leaves, burnt insulation, like something that had been put out too late. I ran back inside, locked the doors, and shut every curtain. Toby didn't ask questions. He just stayed close. Later that night, he showed me a drawing. "Is this what Scout saw?" I asked gently. He nodded once. It was a man made of bark, fingers like brittle twigs, eyes like holes full of ash. We left the cabin by the end of the month. I told the owner there were plumbing issues. She didn't return the deposit, and I didn't care. Back in Charlotte, Toby sleeps a little better. Scout doesn't bark at nothing anymore, but he still won't go near wooded trails even in the city. Toby won't either. He only walks Scout in circles around the block and only during daylight. Sometimes I think about that trail, the bite on Scout's side, the shimmer in the trees. And I wonder if some fires don't die out completely. If some things smolder long after the last flame. Maybe whatever Scout stepped into wasn't ash from something burned. Maybe it was from something still burning. Beneath the surface. Waiting for curious paws, quiet children, or open doors. Some places remember what they've lost. When nature leaves marks. Ashes where no fire burned. Footprints where no one walked. Listen to them. Not every silence is empty. Some are warnings still warm from whatever never truly left. I didn't expect clarity. That wasn't why I left Syracuse in '94. I wasn't chasing some big spiritual rebirth like a movie character with a backpack. I just didn't know what else to do. College wasn't working out. I'd bounced between jobs and couches, and when my uncle died, I found his old trail journal in a cardboard box. He'd written about hiking to find peace after Vietnam, described the trees like they were old friends. It sounded like something I needed. So I packed light, bought a decent hammock, and headed south with the goal of walking a few hundred miles of the Appalachian Trail solo. By mid-September, I'd made it into Tennessee, feeling confident, sleeping better, even laughing to myself sometimes on trail. That night, I set up camp near Birch Ridge Spur. Locals said it was a weird stretch, quiet, steep, rarely used, but I liked the idea of solitude. I was arrogant back then, figured a good headlamp and a sharp knife were enough protection from anything. The ridge was narrow, lined with tall birch and hemlock. I found a flat spot, strung up my hammock, and ate instant mashed potatoes with a packet of tuna. Then I hung my bear bag, brushed my teeth, and climbed in with my journal. It was around 9:45 p.m. By 11:30, I woke up with that feeling. You know the one. Like something's not right before your eyes even open. The woods weren't just quiet. They were off. No crickets, no wind, just pressure. like the air was waiting for something. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Not animal fast, not panicked. Just long, wet breaths. Human-like, but wrong. Too heavy. I didn't move, didn't speak. My whole body froze the second I heard that breathing. My knife was under my pillow and my headlamp was clipped to the ridgeline, but I didn't dare reach. Through the bug net, I could just make out a figure standing beyond the tree line, maybe 30 feet away. It wasn't walking. It wasn't making eye contact. Just standing. Its arms hung low. Shoulders sagged. The body language didn't make sense. It looked like it was, listening. Every part of me screamed to run, but I didn't. I laid there, not blinking, barely breathing myself. The figure never moved closer, never farther. Just stood there. I don't know how long I stayed like that. My guess is hours. Time bends when you're that scared. At some point, I must have passed out. I woke up just after dawn. First thing I did was check for tracks. None. But my boots? They were 10 feet away, turned backward, soles pointed toward camp like someone had tried them on and left them there. There was a single drag line in the leaves going away from the camp. Not a trail, not shoe prints, just a swath where something had been pulled or slid. I didn't stop to make sense of it. I packed in 15 minutes, left half my food bag behind. I didn't care. I covered 14 miles that day, probably more than I should have. No breakfast, barely stopped to drink water. I just kept going. Every crack of a branch behind me sent my heart racing. I wouldn't take my eyes off the tree line. The worst part wasn't what I'd seen, it was what the woods felt like after. It wasn't watching me. It was waiting. Like something had trailed just far enough back to stay out of view. By late afternoon, I hit a logging road and flagged down an old Dodge pickup. The guy didn't ask questions, just said, "You look like hell," and offered a bottle of Mountain Dew from his console. I downed it in one gulp. He dropped me off in Irwin. I went straight to the sheriff's office, told the deputy I saw something on Birch Ridge, and I didn't know if it was a man or a bear or something else. He gave me the kind of look you'd expect. A tight-lipped, humoring kind of nod. "You take anything out there? Mushrooms? Little Jack Daniels?" he asked. I didn't argue. I handed over the disposable camera I'd been using to document my hike. Told him maybe something weird showed up. Weeks later, I got a letter back. Said one photo was odd. Showed a cluster of trees and, in the far left corner, a pale shape. No eyes, no definition, just a faint outline of something long and upright. I never hiked again. Not like that. Not solo, not deep woods. I kept the photo, but I don't show it anymore. It's not clear, not proof, just a blurry shape in a sea of branches. But I remember the way I felt that night. That tight, crawling fear that starts in your stomach and doesn't leave even when you're back home. Even when your feet are on concrete again. People want to know what it was. I've been on a few podcasts over the years, told the story like I'm telling it now. Most folks laugh nervously. Others lean in like they've got a story of their own. The ones who believe me don't ask what it was. They ask what it wanted. I still don't know. All I know is it followed me for hours without sound, without tracks, and without need. It didn't want food, didn't want to hurt me, I don't think. It just needed something I didn't realize I had. Maybe attention, maybe recognition, maybe fear. Sometimes I wonder if the trail shows different faces to different people. My uncle wrote about peace, healing, trees that whispered comfort. That's not what Birch Ridge gave me. It gave me a lesson. Some places don't want to be walked. They tolerate you, they watch, and if you're lucky, they let you leave. I still have that journal. I keep it locked away with the photo. I haven't written in it since that day. When friends suggest hikes now, I smile and decline. Not really my thing anymore, I say. They laugh. Think I'm lazy. I don't bother explaining. Because you don't have to believe me. You just have to know one thing. Not everything out there is lost or forgotten. Some things wait. And some trails aren't just trails. They're doors. Respect the quiet places. The ones nobody talks about. The ones that feel too still. Not everything that follows you wants to be seen. But once it finds you, it remembers. Some paths don't forget who's passed through. I've never done well with cities. Noise always gets to me. The kind of noise that doesn't stop. Subways clattering through concrete. Sirens wailing at 3 a.m. Even conversations in coffee shops start to feel like someone's shaking a jar of bees in my skull. That's why I said yes when Renee asked if I could house sit her cabin on Timberline Ridge. She'd inherited the place from her grandparents, tucked way up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, a 10-minute drive from Burnsville, and another 10 just to find a cell signal. I didn't care. I needed the quiet, and she needed someone to water the succulents and bring in the mail. Win-win. The first few days were pure silence, and I mean that in the best way. I'd wake to light slicing through pine needles, sketch on the porch with coffee, and fall asleep with a book by the fireplace. It was perfect. So perfect I started wondering why I ever thought noise was normal. But that changed on the 6th night. At around 10 p.m. I was cleaning up dishes when I heard it. The screen door creaked open and slammed shut once. I froze. The sound echoed, too sharp to be wind. I waited, expecting footsteps. A knock. Something. "Hello?" I called out. Nothing. I walked to the front. The porch was empty, but the doormat, Renee's Welcome Wanderer mat, was flipped upside down. I stared at it for a full minute. It felt small, stupid, but it rattled me. I went back inside and locked everything. Told myself maybe the wind had gotten under it. Maybe it had flipped itself over. But deep down, I knew better. The next night, something happened that logic couldn't explain away. It started around 1:30 in the morning. I was up reading, nothing scary, just a weathered old book of watercolor techniques, when I heard footsteps above me. Not a thump or creak. Footsteps. Slow, steady, like someone walking barefoot or in socks. Deliberate. The problem? The cabin has no second floor. I sat there frozen on the couch, heart pounding. The sound moved, paced, then stopped. For 20 minutes, nothing else. I grabbed my flashlight and knife, not that I'd know how to use it, and locked myself in the guest bedroom. I laid there, ears straining in the dark, wondering what I'd do if the noise came back. I even whispered to myself, "You're overtired. Cabin's settling, that's all." But I knew what I heard. By 2 o'clock, the sound stopped. Just silence again. But not the peaceful kind I'd fallen in love with. This silence was thick, watchful. The next morning, I tried to rationalize everything again. I told myself maybe there were raccoons in the attic space or squirrels nesting in the rafters. But when I went outside, I saw something that chilled me more than any sound. There was a set of faint footprints on the porch, barefoot. Adult size. They weren't there the night before, and they didn't lead away. They just started at the door. May 10th started like the rest. Foggy, cool, with birdsong cutting through the tree canopy. I brewed coffee and stared out into the woods, trying to shake the unease from the night before. The sun didn't seem to hit quite right that morning, and even Scout, the neighbor's old golden retriever who sometimes wandered by, was nowhere to be seen. Then I walked into the kitchen and froze. There was a second coffee mug in the sink, half full. I hadn't used it. I only ever used the green one with the chip in the handle. This one was plain white, and the rim had the faint ring of a mouth print. I could even smell it. Someone had made coffee, strong, black. I checked the bathroom. My toothbrush was damp. Not just like it fell into the sink, wet at the bristles. The guest bathroom door was ajar, and inside the mirror was still fogged over. The towel was damp. Someone had taken a shower. Every nerve in my body lit up. I tore through the house, checked closets, behind furniture, even under the bed like a child scared of the boogeyman. No one. But they had been here, recently, maybe still hiding. I packed a go bag, grabbed Renee's house key and locked every door, every window. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the knife twice just putting it into my jacket pocket. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner of the guest bedroom, flashlight and phone in hand, praying that if something happened, I'd have a signal. But I didn't. The knock never came. That's what still unnerves me. There was no attempt to communicate, just movement. At 9:50 p.m., the front door unlocked, not forced, not jimmied, just turned, slow and sure, like someone coming home. I hadn't left the key anywhere accessible, so either they'd had one all along, or someone had given it to them. I couldn't make a call. Service was too weak, so I texted 911. Nothing went through. The light outside flickered, then died. Then I heard drawers open, not slammed, just methodical, like someone checking where everything was, familiarizing themselves. Then the bedroom doorknob turned, just once. Then silence. I crouched behind the bed, whispered to the dead phone, "There's someone in here. He has a key." I didn't sleep. I didn't move. The door never opened. Eventually, I must have passed out. When I woke up to daylight filtering through the blinds, I thought I'd dreamed it all. But the cabinet doors in the kitchen were open, and someone had folded the throw blanket at the foot of the couch, like they'd stayed the night, like they'd cleaned up after themselves. Deputies arrived just before 7 a.m. They didn't find anyone. No forced entry, no broken locks. But in the fireplace was a pile of burned paper still warm. One unburned corner remained. It said, "Don't tell them I stayed." That's when Renee called. She was shocked, of course. Said no one should have been up there. Then she went quiet. I think my brother may have had a copy of the key. He used to stay there, before he went off-grid. He's been on and off meds, and he disappears sometimes. I honestly didn't think he'd come back. I packed my things and left before the deputies finished writing their report. I didn't care about the house, the sketches, the plants. I just needed noise, people, city horns, buses, radios. I live in downtown Asheville now. I draw crowded places, markets, diners, subway platforms. I still flinch at footsteps in quiet halls. And I never house sit anymore. Not even for friends. Because silence only feels safe when you know you're alone. Peace and quiet are only peaceful when you're certain no one else is sharing it. In isolated places, always know who holds the keys, and never assume you're the only one with permission to be there. We got to camp around noon. I remember the leaves were wet and everything smelled like mud and pine needles. Dad was in a good mood, cracking dumb jokes and pretending the cooler was heavier than it was. "You gonna help me with this or just stand there looking pretty?" He grunted, hoisting the gear out of the bed. I rolled my eyes and grabbed the tent bag. "I'm 13, Dad. I'm not a baby." He laughed. "Yeah? You're still the same kid who cried when I let you hold a fish. That was years ago. You were 9. Still years ago." Uncle Vernon sat off to the side, peeling an apple with his pocket knife like he'd done it a million times. He was always the quiet one, but he'd smirk at our back and forth. It was around 4 when Dad patted his jacket and muttered, "Shit." Left my thermos and gear bag in the truck. "You serious?" Vernon asked, not looking up. "Yeah. Idiot move, I know. That's a good 2-3 miles, Bo." "I'll be back before dark," Dad said, strapping on his rifle. "Just gonna move quick. You two hold down the fort." Vernon frowned. "Why don't I go instead?" Dad shook his head. "Nah, I packed it. I'll grab it." Then he looked at me and said, "Get that fire going. I want it hot when I get back." I nodded. "You sure you don't want me to come with?" He smiled, that half grin he always did. "Nah, buddy. Just keep the fire warm." And then he was gone, down the trail, shoulders squared like always. It got cold fast. I remember Vernon checking his watch a lot. He didn't say anything at first, just kept poking at the fire with a stick. After a while, he said, he should have been back by now. Maybe he took a wrong turn, I offered. Your dad? No chance. Another 30 minutes went by. The woods got darker. The fog started creeping in like smoke. Grab your flashlight, he said finally. We're going. We didn't talk much as we walked, just the sound of boots on wet leaves and us calling out, "Bo, you good?" every few yards. Then Vernon stopped cold, shined his light into the brush. Wait. There. I looked and saw it. One of Dad's gloves caught on a thorn, tan leather, burnt thumb. He'd had that pair for years. Vernon picked it up slow like it might bite. Damn. You think he dropped it? Maybe. Or maybe he didn't. Not far from the glove, the ground dipped weird. Like something had caved in, or, I don't know, like something big had been lying there. Is that a trail? I asked. Vernon crouched, looking for tracks. Number too clean. Then he stood and whispered, almost to himself. Where the hell did you go, Bo? They sent the sheriff out the next morning. By then the fog hadn't lifted, and the woods were soaking wet. Dogs came, search parties, even a chopper on the second day. They found nothing. No bag, no thermos, no tracks. Just that one glove. Mom showed up and didn't say much. She kept rubbing her hands like they were cold even when they weren't. I asked if we could stay until they found him. She just said, "Let's get you home." After that, things shifted. She stopped cooking his favorite chili, stopped listening to music, put all his tools in the garage and locked the door. Uncle Vernon quit hunting altogether, just sat on his porch most mornings with coffee, staring at the trees. I saw him cry once. I didn't say anything. He wouldn't have wanted me to. Me? I stopped being a kid, started hiking that trail alone every year. Same day, same route. People in town would say things like, maybe he just got turned around or could have been a bear, but no one believed that. Not really. They just didn't want to think about the alternative. I still hike it. Every November 3rd, I take off work, pack light, and make the walk. It's not for closure, I gave up on that. It's more like respect. The fire pit's still there, half covered in leaves. I rebuild it every year, just like he showed me. I bring a flask of coffee, like Vernon used to, and I wait. I don't expect anything anymore. But sometimes the woods leave me things. A snapped zipper pull. A cigarette butt like the ones he smoked. Once I found a rusted compass tucked under a rock. Could have been his. Could have been someone else's. But it always feels like a whisper. This year, the trail felt different. I stood by the same spot where we found the glove. The ground still dips funny there. You'd miss it if you weren't looking. I sat for a while. Listened. No wind, no birds. Just that same heavy silence I've come to know. I don't know what took my dad. Maybe it was just the woods. Maybe it was something else. I'm done guessing. But I do know the last thing he said to me. Don't follow me. And the truth is I've been following him ever since. Not because I think I'll find him, but because some part of me is afraid that if I don't keep walking that trail, no one will. It was snowing that day, not heavy, just that fine dust that clings to everything. I'd just gotten back from checking my bait lines near Laurel Creek and was warming up a can of beans over the stove when the CB crackled. "Caleb, you copy? Caleb, you there?" The voice was shaky. Ezra Pike. I clicked the receiver. "Yeah, I'm here, old man. What's going on?" It took another one. He whispered. "Another hen. Coop was shut tight last night, I swear it. But this morning it's open again. Clean latch. No feathers." That got my attention. Ezra wasn't the type to spook easy. Man had lived out past Turkeyfoot for 40 years, off-grid, with just his hens, goats, and a wood stove older than me. He once ran off a bear with a shovel if he was scared something wasn't right. "You sure it ain't just a fox?" "It ain't a damn fox, or a coyote. It's different." There was a pause. Then, "Can you come by? Just have a look." I looked out the window. Snow on the ridge. sun going down. I sighed. Yeah, I'll swing by before dark. I grabbed my 30-30, zipped my coat, and set out. Ezra's place sat about a mile past where the old power lines ended, tucked in a pocket of woods the maps barely bother naming. The only way in was a rutted-out logging trail that turned to ice in the shade. His cabin was lit up like a lantern when I got there, every damn light on, and the fire glowing like hell inside. He met me on the porch, bundled tight, eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in a week. "Thanks for coming," he said, voice thin. "Show me," I said. He led me to the coop. Hinges swung smooth, no scratch marks, no bent wire, just open. "You didn't forget to latch it?" He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "I latch it the same way every night, Caleb. Double loop the cord. Ain't forgettin'. Ain't losing my mind either." Then he pointed. "Look." Behind the coop, snow had packed down, but there were marks. Not paw prints, not boots. Just long, deep impressions. Almost clawed. 5 toes, maybe 6. Spaced out wide like something tall had walked through, but barely disturbed the snow otherwise. "Could be someone messing with you," I offered, but I didn't believe it. Ezra just shook his head. "They ain't human. Not like us." I followed the trail with my flashlight. It led into the dark, right toward Fogdrop Ridge. I shouldn't have gone alone. I knew better, but something about those prints pulled me up the ridge like a rope. Trees got thinner, and the cedar started showing, stripped bare like something had gnawed the bark clean. And then I saw it. In a stand of dead trees, maybe 30 yards off, there was a figure. Tall, pale, bone-thin. It stood facing a cedar trunk, motionless, like it was listening, arms too long, elbows bent backward like a busted doll. Its head leaned hard to one side, like it was broken or hearing something I couldn't. I froze. I stepped on a branch. Snap. It didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't turn. But everything in my gut, the part that's been blown up, blacked out and beat down, screamed one thing: leave. I backed away slow, careful, step by step, never taking my eyes off it. When I hit the frozen creek bed, I ran. I didn't breathe right again until I was back at Ezra's, banging on the door. He opened it without a word. I didn't say anything either. We just started dragging furniture in front of the windows. We didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., the wind picked up. Or maybe it wasn't the wind. Ezra was in his rocking chair, clutching a loaded shotgun and whispering a prayer he hadn't said in years. Then, soft, real soft. Scratch, scratch, at the window. Just one, not banging, not forcing, just like it was waiting. Neither of us moved, not a sound. It went quiet after a few minutes, but neither of us dared look. Sun came up slow, like it didn't want to see what the night left behind. By the time we stepped outside, the snow had covered everything again. No prints, no signs, just the latch on the coop. Opened clean. Another hen gone. 2 weeks later, a high school kid went missing on a hike up near the hollow. They found his pack by the creek, but not him. Search parties went up Fogdrop Ridge. I didn't go. I didn't tell the sheriff what I saw. He wouldn't have believed me. Worse, he might have gone looking for it. I just stayed home, cleaned my traps, drank coffee, stared too long at the trees. I ain't been past that cedar grove since. There are parts of these woods older than roads, older than the names on maps. They don't belong to us, and they don't owe us answers. And sometimes if something knocks, you don't open the door, no matter how polite it sounds. Not everything lost in the woods is meant to be found, and not everything that knocks is asking to come in. Listen to your gut. Trust the silence. Some places don't want to be known.